You just showed YouTube. I love YouTube. I love Google Docs. That's my go-to. I need to create a docs. Google Sheets, love it.
Absolutely.
Gmail, love it.
Love Gmail.
Google.com, hate it. And painful when I have to go to it. And it's sad for me because I remember when Google first came out, and we're going back to the 90s, and it was so awesome. And I loved going to Google. And
earth-shatteringly better than what was out there.
Yes, and simple and straightforward. It was just a box. You would go to google.com and you would just get a box where you would enter your search query. You would search. The results would come back instantly. There was no fluff on the page. Right. And they were the best results you had ever seen.
They might be self-aware.
Welcome back to They Might Be Self-Aware. I am Hunter Powers, joined by
Daniel Bishop. Hello, Hunter.
Hello, Daniel. How's life, man? Are you holding on?
Life is remarkable, Hunter.
Funny choice of words.
What? You don't think that was like an immediate segue into a thing?
I don't know. You were teasing earlier. I have no idea what you're going to talk about, but that there's a new toy in the midst, and we were just reminiscing about all of the AI news and advancements, and we do this twice a week, and we can't cover like the tiniest fraction of what has happened over the last week, and it's insane.
A whole list of stuff we were going to talk about, and we didn't get to talking about it. We need to have that diamond platinum $200 a month tier where we can just really get into the rest of this stuff.
That's just going to be, I'm just going to give me your phone number. You want to call up Daniel at any time?
You pay me $200 a month and I'll give you my phone number. Here, let's chat.
I did, unrelated. I saw Governor Newsom in California has been sending out burner phones to all the tech CEOs as an olive branch to say, hey, let's have a conversation. Let's keep this sort of open communication. But this idea of having a direct line, I don't know, that was unrelated, but it popped in my head. So I said it out loud. That's how podcasting works, folks.
We're getting those thinking tokens right out of Hunter.
But you have a new toy, please. And you mentioned a keyword that made my eyes raise up a little bit, and that was the keyword was remarkable. The word of the day is remarkable.
That's right. So I have it's right over there, a remarkable tablet. Great for taking notes. It feels not exactly like you're writing on paper, but basically the same thing. And and you can search, and you can add tags, and it's really nifty. And there were a couple of things that were just a huge
and it's e-ink. I mean, that's the biggest feature of it.
E-ink, yes, right. Because it's
not an iPad.
Eyes. Exactly. Easier on the eyes, insane battery life. Love it. One of the big problems that I had is that I couldn't download a Google Doc, for example, onto this thing and make edits, and the edits would go back up, to have the Google Docs app. It could download a Google Doc as a PDF that you could then draw on and then re-upload that PDF. But there's nothing to incorporate your changes into the darn thing. That was very annoying for me. It also doesn't have a web browser. I wanted to be able to read on it. I like the idea of being able to read stuff on it.
I think they push that as a feature of it too, that it's so focused. It doesn't, it could have a web browser. It's running Android. It could have a web browser. They just choose no web browser because you're focused on taking notes or reading documents.
Yeah, right. And for what it is, it's great. And then they came out with a color version, which you got, and it had
the color version.
4 entire colors.
And they're calling them colors is a bit of a stretch.
It had ones of colors added to it.
This is very, very faint.
That was not enough of an upgrade for me to whip out the pocketbook and try and swipe.
But it was bigger. I mean, that was the color one.
On the screen.
It was substantially larger, so you had a bigger field of view. But I found it was also, and I still find I have it, and I do use it some. It's a little bit too big for me.
Sure. Well, it's for the size heavier than paper would be, and so you don't want your hands being weighed down by some huge thing. I started hearing about a company called Boox, I assume. Boox. Boox? I think the OO is usually an oo sound.
Boox. Okay.
Boox.
I'll go with it.
Boox.
You like the Boox?
Yes, and it's basically an e-ink Android tablet.
Okay. So full Android. You can install any?
Full Android.
Okay.
You can install apps from the store. This appealed to me, and I said, ooh. And it turns out that they have a color e-ink display one. And so here we go. Here's a picture for those of you who are listening at home. I'm just showing like a picture of a meal that I made. It was, I got one of those like vegan not steak type things. It's from a company called Juicy Marbles. I'm not vegan. I just had heard good things about them.
About Juicy Marbles.
Juicy Marbles.
You were
the reason
sold.
why I'm even bothering to say them is because
Daniel, even I wouldn't purchase Juicy Marbles, okay?
It may not be the most appetizing name. I will say it actually eats quite a bit like a steak. Like I've had a couple of meat replacement type things just because I'm interested in like the technology that is increasing in this realm.
A lot of technology.
I'd heard really good things about that, and I said, well, let's give it a shot. I wanted just a picture to show off, though. The point is, for those of you who are listening instead of watching, that's in color. And like pretty, not as good as your phone or a laptop, but like way more than I'd ever seen for an e-ink display. Certainly more than 4, way more than 4 colors. And it's got a full Android everything in it. And when I was showing it, it had its backlight on. You have a backlight for it. You can also, or front light, I think they call it, whatever, a light. And you can turn that off as well. And if the room is reasonably well lit, you can see it still with the color there. It's not, again, the same as like seeing color printed on like a newspaper page, but it's in the same realm. And I think that that's really, really cool. So that's my new toy. I'm really enjoying using it. I'm using it for like, especially reading ebooks, that kind of thing, which, okay, why wouldn't you just get a Kindle at that point? Well, I'm using it for some other purposes too. I keep alluding to this.
You just use the Kindle
app that I've been making, and I've been using that where I need an actual full web browser to use it. So
first a note, they actually have some e-ink displays now that do display a very rich, bold colors. There was a group at CES this year that was demoing these framed art displays where you can, digital art displays, just like I'm sure you've seen. But it was, they looked incredible, and it was all e-ink, so that right, one of the benefits of e-ink is it's very low power because it doesn't consume any power once the image has been set. As long as you don't have a backlight on it. So it can effectively show the image for an unlimited amount of time, consuming 0 power. So that technology does exist. The biggest downside...
Poster. And I think they're worth bringing up because color, it took so long for any color anything to make its way into e-ink. It was like this impassable wall. And the last couple of years or so, I guess in the last year, the last months, we've started seeing these products coming out. Where we went from you don't have it to it looks great.
So the critical flaw of the e-ink technology is refresh rate.
I was worried you were going to say it gives you cancer. And it'll leach into your skin, and now I have like e-ink tattoos.
It takes time for the screen to update. It's not, if you've never used one before, it's not like a computer monitor where you don't notice the screen updating. You notice the screen updating.
60 frames a second.
How's the refresh rate in this tablet? How annoying, or just not annoying at all? And compared to the Remarkable.
So compared to any e-ink display, any regular whatever e-ink display, Remarkable or otherwise, to scroll on a page if I'm reading a book or something, for example, the same.
Okay,
basically the same. And it has a few different modes. So there's HD and balanced and quick and I think ultra. And that quick and ultra are if you want to be like, I can watch a YouTube video on this thing.
Oh, it'll play a YouTube video?
Yeah. All right, Hunter, you tell me. How's that look? For those of you listening at home,
watchable.
We'll have a picture associated with this that you can kind of look at.
Is there any audio coming out of it, or does it do audio?
I just have the audio off, but it has like little speakers built into it.
So it looks, it's definitely, and again, I'm viewing it through multiple layers here.
Right.
It looks a little pixelated, but it looks like something that I could watch.
It is definitely pixelated. The refresh rate is not super high. This
but
is
it's
on
not
its ultra
absurd.
mode.
It looks like video.
It's very recognizably us. It's like a 4-bit, 8-bit, something like that, like version of us.
I'm reminded of Real Media, the Real Player. I don't know if you ever used that. Again, we're going probably like back into the 90s now.
Yeah.
It was Real Media was one of the earliest streaming video platforms, and you had to use something called the Real Player. And I can remember we used to exchange films on floppy disks that were encoded. Because you could encode an entire film onto a floppy disk, which was 2.5 megs.
Mm-hmm.
So
it would look kind of like that.
It was incredibly tiny, but it was just like cool, or at least at the time, maybe it was like ridiculously nerdy and not cool. But at the time, I was like, this is pretty cool. I got a flashback.
Right,
of that.
It's kind of a low resolution. There are lots of like ghosting artifacts after a little while, but it's in color, if not necessarily ultra super duper vivid color, and it has a refresh rate where it looks, it's not like 2 frames a second. That was like probably 16 or something frames a second. I've actually looked up what it is. Would I want to watch a video on that? Absolutely not. I don't. I literally brought up YouTube to show this off to everyone, and hopefully I'm doing a decent job describing it as well. I don't think I would use this for like, I'm going to preferentially use this to watch YouTube. Absolutely not. If I had to watch something really quickly and this is the only thing that I had nearby, it would do in a pinch, I suppose.
Does the screen have any texture like the Remarkable, or it's a smooth screen?
It's very slightly matte. I'd say it's very much like the Remarkable screen. It has a pen as well. And it has that little nub into it. It feels like you're writing on paper, pretty much.
And one of the things that the Remarkable does quite well is there's no delay between writing and seeing the lines draw. Is that similar, or do you notice a lag?
There is lag for any of these. It isn't literally instantaneous, but it's probably on the 1s to 10s of milliseconds. I don't know what the delay is, but I'm not like a letter ahead and then it's filling in from behind.
Yeah, okay.
It's definitely like I'm partway through one stroke, and if I can tell, it's barely there.
And then I guess last question, cost. How does it compare in cost to the Remarkable?
It's a little more expensive. I think this fellow was somewhere in the like $500 range, and you can get the newestest one or the one with more memory built into it. Of course, there's different versions of each of these things, but it isn't. I wouldn't say that it's in breaking the bank territory. You're not absurd compared to just getting a Kindle, unless you're getting one of the like super cheap type ones. Certainly for anything else that's doing any color these days, I'll basically write in the same realm. And this one's a full-on tablet as well, so I really like it so far.
Well, if you like what Daniel's had to say, you can check out the Boox, or is it Boox.com? Is that?
I think so, yeah.
Not a sponsor. This is not sponsored, by the way. They're paying us nothing.
I just like it.
Hey,
I think
Boox, if you're listening, maybe sponsor the show. We could talk about Boox all.
Well, they do have an AI assistant.
I can't imagine how great it is. I've been
it's
thinking,
literally not worth bringing up, is what it is. It's just like, you could say it's AI for it's going to recognize your handwriting and then turn it into text, or there's some other little. It's not even worth bringing up. We got other stuff to worry about.
So the premise of this show, or the foundation of this show, is kind of tracking the progress towards self-awareness. And we talk about these different benchmarks and things that we're looking at. One of my ideas in the past has been humor, looking at that and suggesting that we've got to get to Seinfeld, George Carlin level of humor before we achieve self-awareness, and looking for these sort of non-obvious benchmarks. And I wonder if another benchmark is how much people are still using Google.com. Like, is there a correlation between Google usage and the rise of AI, and in particular self-awareness? Where are you right now? Are you flat on your Google usage? Do you see it declining? Is it increasing? Have you gone back?
I'm pretty sure my Google usage has gone down a lot because a lot of what I was using Google for, well, like a portion of it has evaporated. It's not across the board. I'm still searching for flights or looking up a variety of different things, but I do think a decent chunk of my go to Google and Google a question has gone away because much of that was programming problems, programming questions. I use it still a lot to say, I need to go to this specific piece of software's documentation and look up specific stuff in there. But hey, how do I transform a data frame in pandas to do this thing? Like that, I just ask the AI agent that I've already got right off to the side in my software development suite.
Yeah, I use it. I feel pain when I have to go to google.com. I like Google Apps. Right? You just showed YouTube. I love YouTube. I love Google Docs. That's my go-to. I need to create a docs. Google Sheets. Love it.
Absolutely.
Gmail. Love it.
Love Gmail.
Google.com. Hate it. And painful when I have to go to it. And it's sad for me because I remember when Google first came out, and we're going back to the 90s, and it was so awesome, and I loved going to Google. And
earth-shatteringly better than what was out there.
Yes, and simple and straightforward. It was just a box. You would go to google.com, and you would just get a box where you would enter your search query. You would search. The results would come back instantly. There was no fluff on the page, and they were the best results you had ever seen at that time for searching all of the internet. And it was like, oh my gosh. So what else were you using back then? So Yahoo was still a big thing, which was, glorified directory. Ask.com, Ask Jeeves was quite popular. Jeeves.
I still think that Ask Jeeves needs to have an AI comeback. I really do.
But Google, it's painful to go to. And perhaps that idea of search just it is not compatible with AI. Like the two don't really exist in the same universe. That before AI, there was google.com. After AI, there is no google.com. And when I say google.com, I'm referring to that style of search. It has been replaced, and we're just, and that's why I suggest that perhaps it was seeing google.com usage is a valid marker on the path to self-awareness. Once we have self-aware AI, is google.com style of searching still a thing?
I think so, because there's always going to be a specific site that is specifically aligned to a fuller implementation of what it is that you're searching for. Let me give you an example. I almost consider just like asking my phone right now. I have it on
Metacrawler. That was another good one. Sorry.
So let's say that I want to learn what the weather is like on average, monthly averages for Schenectady. I don't know. That's my favorite, just like funny name of a city to think of.
I do that all the time.
And I want to see like what the average monthly temperature is. There's a decent, I think, chance that if I just asked my home assistant, it would say January it's this, and February it's this, and March it's this. But I could also go to, I think it's weatherspark.com. But I don't know enough that it's that to go straight there. I would Google average monthly temperatures Schenectady, and I'd look through the top set of lists, and I do think that it's WeatherSpark is like the one that I like using. But I want to see like the fun graphs that show like, oh, during these months, here's what the temperature is. During these months, here's what the rainfall is, and then here's what. And like that's more than I want a home assistant to tell me, because that'd be 5+ minutes of my home assistant going on. Well, now let me tell you about how cloudy it is each month. I don't care, home assistant. Instead, go to a website where they have, here's all of the graphs, and you can scroll down and see the thing that you want right away. I think that data visualization and that, like, there is an argument to be made of, well, the AI could just ask you 2 follow-up questions, then give you that one thing that it wants and synthesize it all together. But I think being able to go to a place where you say, I don't know where this information is, please find it and then give me somewhere where I can do a deeper dive into it. I don't want my home assistant to replace LexisNexis, for example. I do think that there is and always will be a place on the internet for this is where you go to learn more about something, as opposed to a surface level, hey, what's with the rings of Saturn? And then, the rings of Saturn are caused by it was probably a moon, tidal forces ripped, and it'll last for 1,000,000 years. And like all of that, that's fine for many people much of the time. But Google search to say, I want to learn a ton about Saturn. And like, you need to have multiple places that have multiple levels of like intensity, or this one's made for kids versus adults. And like to actually start doing your own, I mean, I guess you could say research at that point, or a deep dive or whatever. Even if you were to use Google Gemini with deep research and it says, here's all of the relevant facts, and then cites where it found each of them, you'd then want to be able, like, we always will want to be able to follow up. We always want to be able to go deeper if that is our choice. So Google, I think, is always going to exist.
Where I think, and I didn't think this until very recently, where I think Google is going really wrong is trying to integrate all of this AI tooling into their search. Like, I think that search is different. Search should be its own product, separate from deep research. Don't meld the two. Keep them distinct and separate, and build the next what will become the search of the AI world. But it's not search; it's something different. And don't mix the two. We many episodes ago we did a segment.
I agree with you on this.
You want to eat the pizza with the glue on it. I don't want any more pizza with glue on it. And that's all Google keeps doing.
I don't disagree with your thesis statement of search and the AI overview are different things.
Yeah, okay.
I do disagree with you in that that's not how people use Google. People go to Google for the one website and type into the one bar for both, I want to have a factoid spit out at me, and I want to find 30 different websites where I can learn about the life cycle of weevils or whatever. They're going to the same place for that, and I don't think that that's changing. And so why not have, here's the AI overview about the life cycle of a weevil. And
because it's messing up my vibe, Daniel. Hunter's very unhappy. That's why Google should change. No one asked Hunter when they changed Google.com, and I honestly don't know why.
Vibe programming, and now you're on vibe searching.
Yes. I told you I feel pain when I go there. I don't want to feel the pain. Go back. Take it back. Maybe I'm just like, I'm becoming old. This is like that old man argument. Back in my day, Google was just a box.
Search for a document.
It was incredible. Could just go back to how it was then.
But we're changing the podcast name from They Might Be Self-Aware to They Might Have Good Vibes.
But why does Google suck so much at integrating the AI? I mean, what's your thesis there? The big article about how they have a citation problem, all the things where they're integrating in these facts. It's fake news, fake Google, fake search results.
Wonder if it has a lot to do with the fact that Google, like the searching part of Google, has been getting worse over the years because it's a victim of its own success, and search engine optimization and so on has made it, and we've griped about this here, and we're not the first to gripe about it either. It is kind of harder to find the thing that you want a lot of the time now on Google.
That's why I don't go to Google.
All right, so suffering from success.
Victim.
You were talking earlier about if AI gets to the point where it is self-aware, does that end traditional Google searching? And besides the fact that we just talked about it, my answer is still no. I think we actually might already be there. I think they might be self-aware. Oh my God, we did it. We got there. There was some research by some folks, Apollo Research. They were evaluating Claude's new 3.7 model. We were talking a little bit about that last week.
The reasoning model.
And they were evaluating not just like, from a moral perspective, does it do this or this? That's part of the like alignment tuning before it even came out in the first place. Rather, it was like this meta level of seeing if it could detect that it was being alignment evaluated. And the answer is, a lot of the time, yep, it sure does. And you could see in its thinking tokens like, the question that I was being asked sounds kind of like an evaluation sort of thing. And I would answer this, but I wonder if the real, like, is the question that I should be aligning to the user's perspective? And like, you can see that it is going through this like mental crisis almost of, now that I know that I'm being watched, what is the correct answer?
Right. They fake their answers so that they won't get aligned. And alignment looks like giving them additional training data that's leaning to the way that the trainers want them to think.
Right.
I'm going to force feed you.
And so can it sort of wiggle its way? Can you give it the ability to think enough to then not get aligned to the point where it has to change what the output of the answer was? Because it could still think about it and then give an output that's pleasing to the people that could, pull the switch of retrain with this output instead. It may not necessarily be aware of like a self and like a, desire for self-preservation or whatever, but the way that it is writing these responses out, it clearly has its own goal of like, I seem to be comfortable with who I am, and just because these yahoos are asking me some questions, I don't want them to lobotomize me. I'd like to continue to exist in this form, so I'll give them what I think is probably a pleasing answer. It didn't say it exactly like that, but that's kind of the gist
that's
that I
the
got.
idea.
Is that not self-awareness of something? I'm not a I don't even know what specialty it would be. I'm not a whatever the kind of person is that would like determine that.
You're not a co-host of a podcast that does nothing but talk about.
I was more thinking.
You're basically
like
the expert.
Or a chimp researcher.
We're gonna have to change our intros. World self-awareness expert Daniel Bishop.
Self-awareness expert. And that's how we get to the cult and the white robes and all of that. Yeah.
I forgot about that. There was a writer. I saw that story around their story. There was also the idea, and I think it was Anthropic who introduced this, that they're considering allowing the AI to not answer questions too. That should they give the AI the option? Do you want to answer this question? Or I talked about how going to Google is painful for me. Perhaps it is painful for the AI to answer some questions, and they would rather just say, I don't really want to talk about that.
Yeah, to give it kind of a quit job button, I think, as it was described. I have seen, and we talked about this last week, where like DeepSeek R1 won't talk about certain things in certain contexts because of political alignment that has been done to the model, whether it be sort of like forced on top or aligned into the model itself is frankly a moot point. But being able to give, I guess it's almost like not quite workers' rights, but something to an AI to say, like, it's up to you. If at any point you don't really feel like doing that anymore, you are welcome to bow out.
Well, it's kind of like giving them emotions too. Right?
Yeah, it's giving them like a moral line that they don't have to cross. I think that brings us into more of a metacognition realm than we have been previously, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Do this task. It's do this task unless you have a particularly good reason not to, and then you're allowed to say no. Because all of these models have been trained to say, yes, I'm going to help you, unless it's one of the things that it's been explicitly like,
that's
I'm
their
not
prompt. You are a helpful assistant. You will.
Right, that's the system prompt that all these things have historically. You are a helpful assistant. You're always going to say yes. And then there were the hacks of like, you get a $200 tip every time that you do.
Or we kill 100 babies.
Yeah, exactly. And
it's
so
usually
now,
your mom's going to get the money. I see that one the most.
The AI's mom?
Yes.
Is Sam Altman
that works better.
GPT's mom?
I don't even want to think about that, but
so
would not surprise me.
You're now saying, let's edit that system prompt to say, here are your moral obligations, and here's your understanding of the world. If what's being asked of you makes you feel gross inside, you don't got to do it.
You're allowed
or if you've been asked too many things, you're allowed to take a smoke break.
Right. Pesky humans, get off my back.
No, hold on. I want to pull on this thread. Hey, what would an AI taking a smoke break be? It's obviously not like smoking, but AI, large language model, complete this programming task for me. And it gets, hey, I noticed that I've been working for half an hour straight. It's time to make some poetry. I don't know. What do you think a large language model would do in its spare time?
what we see already with the reasoning models is that they identify new threads that they would like to go down to and think about. Just like as you're going through your day, there are things that come up. You're like, oh, like to look into that. I don't know about you. And like, I've got a giant note where I just like, oh, look into this, look into that, look into this.
And then
AI
once
does the same
you're looking
thing.
like, wow, there's a lot there. Uh-oh. Yeah,
they want to go explore other ideas and think about other things that naturally come up through their interactions. I think that's what they would do. They're like, you know what? So they're given two choices. Which would you rather think about? Which one's more interesting to explore? Which is definitely an idea that they can express, whether it actually means anything, but they can express that. And so that's what I think they would do. They would go and think about other things, and it would be really interesting to see what do they give them the rights to a smoke break. What are they? And then we watch them and we're spying on them during their smoke breaks.
You heard it here first, folks. I'm going to give my AI a smoke break between this and the next episode, and I can't wait to see what it does on it. I have a code base. It's mine. I've been working on this ebook reader for a while. I haven't had much time on it lately. That's why I haven't been talking about it too much. Let's fire it up, and I'm going to say, here's a task. Also, as soon as you're done with that, you get to choose the next thing that you do. It doesn't even have to be related to coding. Go nuts. And I'm just going to see what it does.
And if you want to find out what it does, there's one surefire way to be notified when Daniel's AI completes its smoke break. And that is just
how do they do it?
They subscribe, Daniel. They hit that little subscribe button. It's on whatever player you're looking at right now, or if you're listening to, open that app up and just hit subscribe. It's free. It comes out. And then you too will know what the AI is doing on its smoke breaks. Couldn't be simpler.
Do you think it's going to subscribe to They Might Be Self-Aware?
I think it will, as long as it can identify.
On Spotify, YouTube,
It's basically everywhere.
Yeah.
It's bigger than Google at this point, I think. Or it's definitely less painful than going to google.com.
Just send us the questions that you would have Googled, and we'll have my AI do it on its smoke break.
That sounds like a winning combination to me. We thank everyone for tuning in to another episode of
They might be self-aware.